people know about it. It's all out in the supply chain. In fact, about 90% of those jobs are out in the supply chain. And then obviously you have the dealerships and what have you. Even, the paper that goes into the glossy brochures that you get at the dealerships. People are making those, and that's actually a big part of paper employment in this country. But that's why manufacturing is so important, why it's different than the service sector, is that if you get an auto plant in your town, you're going to get other businesses, and since there's better paychecks, the Commerce Department just said they're 38% better than other jobs that are being created in the economy. You're going to get that ripple effect throughout the economy. The opposite is never true. If a Walmart comes to your town, you're not going to get a factory there. That's one of kind of the iron laws of economics today. That's why mayors, governors are so eager for factories, but we still have this disconnect at the federal level where they say, we don't want to do manufacturing policy and pick winners and losers. It's like, well, we're doing that by not helping manufacturing. We're saying financial services, you're going to win. Service sector, you're going to win. China, you're going to win. Germany, you're going to win. We're out of luck, which is why we need better policies on trade, tax, workforce training, invest in our infrastructure, a lot of things you talk about day in and day out.
And I think the best thing that people can do is to look for American products, to demand American products, to buy American products, and after that, the next best thing they can do is go see the movie.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
The American Made Movie, theamericanmademovie.com is where you can find out where it is playing near you. Thank you, Nathan McGill. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And you can also find out more and what you can do to help this whole bring American manufacturing back from the Alliance for American Manufacturing. Scott Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.
And it's AmericanManufacturing.org. Thanks, guys. Great work. All right. See you again.
Thanks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is
the Bill Press Show.
Northern Virginia Congressman Jim Moran at the top of the next hour here on the Bill Press Show. President Obama, first American president to visit Stockholm. You know, he went to Sweden instead of going to Russia because he's pissed at Putin. It's kind of funny the way the schedule is today. So what do you do when you go to Sweden? Well, you meet with the prime minister, and they hold a news conference together. Then he goes off to the Raoul Wallenberg Holocaust Memorial. It's an important visit. Then this afternoon, he tours an Energy Expo event. And this evening, he has an official dinner with Nordic leaders. I think they're going to talk about Nordic skiing. I'm not really sure what's up for.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see you this morning on this Wednesday, September 4, and welcome to the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio right here on Capitol Hill. Technically, the House and the Senate are still on vacation, but there's a lot going on here in our nation's capital at both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue, at least until the president took off for Sweden. We'll keep you up to date bring you up to date on what the goings on here at the United States Capitol, just down the street from us, and at the White House as well. Well, finally, John Boehner and Eric Cantor discovered something they can agree with President Obama on. Too bad it had to be a war. But after yesterday's meeting with congressional leaders at the White House, both Boehner and Cantor said they support President Obama's call for a limited military strike on Syria. Yesterday on this show, we heard from Congressman Elijah Cummings and Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton about how they would vote on this issue. Today, we'll hear from three more members: David Cicilline from Rhode Island, also Jim Moran from the state of Virginia, and Senator Ben Cardin from the state of Maryland. Meanwhile, the president, as I said, is off in Sweden on a little stop before heading to the G20 in St. Petersburg, attempting to round up more support from our allies for a strike on Syria. You can join us anytime and talk about the issues. Don't forget, at our toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS. We want to hear from you, hear what these issues mean to you. You can join us on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Our job to bring you up to date on what's going on. Your job to tell us what it all means to you right here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. you'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
President Obama, the first American president to visit Sweden and Stockholm. They're making the case and prepared to make the case even with more allies in St. Petersburg when he gets there to help and join in a U.S. military strike against Syria. But first, he's got to get the vote of Congress. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 4. Great to see you today. It is the Bill Press Show here, coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., with the news of the day and, of course, leaving time for your comments, because particularly on Syria, this is a time when all of us Americans have to come together, debate the issue, make up our mind as to what is best for the country, while members of Congress are doing the same thing, and the president, meanwhile, standing by saying, I've made up my mind, but I'm not going to act until Congress has a full debate and takes a vote on this issue. Look forward to hearing from you, what it all means to you, what you think we ought to do at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number, 866-55-77-377. Or send us your comments on Twitter, if that's easier for you, at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. We will start off this hour with Congressman Jim Moran from Northern Virginia. Meanwhile, yesterday, Senator John McCain was on, let me not forget to say hello to our team this morning here. Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz standing by to take those phone calls from you, and Cyprian Bowling, our videographer. But keeping us looking good because in addition to being on your local progressive talk radio station all around this country, we are also, you can stream us live online at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And as of next Monday, we'll also, in addition to our radio audience, be back on TV on Free Speech TV. Quickly, I mentioned that John McCain was on Fox and Friends yesterday morning. And Brian Kilmeade, co-host, wanted to make a point. Why should we be supporting these Syrian rebels against the Syrian government? This is a strange case for Fox News to be making, when he says they are religious fanatics. I mean, he plays a video here, you'll hear it, of the rebels shooting down or shooting at a Syrian government plane, and when they strike it, the guy calls out Allah Akbar. He asked John McCain, why should we be supporting these people when they say stuff like that? Here's what it sounded like.
Well, listen to this video, Senator McCain, of a Syrian, it looks like a fighter jet being shot out of the sky. Listen to what they say afterwards. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! I have a problem helping those people out.
Listen to McCain.
That after
McCain puts him down.
Would you have a problem with American Christians saying "Thank God, thank God"? That's what they're saying. Come on. Of course they are Muslims, but they are moderates, and I guarantee you that they are moderates. I know them, and I've been with them. For someone to say Allah Akbar is about as offensive as someone saying "Thank God."
I love that. McCain just says, come on, idiot.
Come on.
Yeah, I get a case. So there has been the full court press on Congress on the part of in Congress on the part of the administration. The president said on Saturday, "I've made my decision. We should respond with a military strike, but I will not act until the Congress has a chance to debate this and to vote on it." Sunday, there was a briefing on Capitol Hill, classified briefing for members of Congress who could make it. On Monday, a conference call for other members of Congress. At the same time, the president met with the bipartisan leadership. It was the next day. The president met with the bipartisan leadership at the White House before he left for Sweden. And yesterday afternoon, a hearing of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. There are going to be more briefings, more hearings today. One of the members who is wrestling with this issue, a good friend of ours, joins us on our news line this morning. Congressman Jim Moran, representing Virginia's 8th District, right across the river from us in Northern Virginia. Hey, Congressman, good to have you with us.
It's good to be with you.
Have you had a chance to attend any of these briefings so far?
Yes, but the problem with these classified briefings is that you can't talk about them, so you're better off not going to them and reading the New York Times the next morning.
That was the case with the NSA briefings, wasn't it? People complained about that. Yeah, they heard about all this stuff and then they couldn't do anything about it. Well, let me just ask you this, to the extent you can comment, Congressman.
I can comment.
Okay, good.
I can sort it out.
Are you convinced that chemical weapons were used and that the Syrian regime is responsible?
There's no question about that. The Syrian regime prepared for 3 days for this. We saw them doing so. The weapons came from a government-controlled area into the one area that was being held by the rebels. It was a direct strike on a part of Damascus that had continued being resistant to the Assad regime, and we intercepted calls from leadership that discussed the use of the weapons. They distributed gas masks to Syrian government troops before the attack, and then we know they were in communication telling them to try to destroy the evidence before the UN inspectors are able to determine it. So there's no question but that the weapons were used by the Assad regime. against rebels, and they knew that they were crossing this red line. They did so anyway, and now they're waiting to see whether there are going to be any real consequences.
Do you think there should be consequences? Do you think there should be a military strike?
Yes, there needs to be. The military strike is not going to war. Our ultimate objective actually would be a negotiated resolution that would include all the parties, so that it would diminish Assad's control. But we don't think that there's anybody in the country right now that could take over running the country. But we know that Assad can't continue this war against his own people, and if we don't respond to the use of chemical weapons, then he's going to continue to use them. And as Senator Kerry has said, it sends a signal, the wrong signal, to Iran and North Korea and other countries who might use chemical weapons with impunity as well.
You mentioned Senator Kerry, or Secretary Kerry, we have to call him now, making that point. I just want to play for our listeners and our viewers, Senator or Congressman. This was Secretary of State Kerry at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee yesterday, making the very point that you just quoted.
Yeah. The message is that he has been granted impunity, the freedom to choose to use the weapons again, or force us to go through this cycle again with who knows what outcome after once refusing it. We would have granted him the capacity to use these weapons against more people.
So it would be a green light to Assad and to other dictators who might consider using them. But Congressman, there are two arguments that we hear from some of our listeners and also from some of your colleagues here on the show. One is, okay, there's got to be a response, but why does it always have to be us?
Because we have made the choice to put more than $500 billion every year into our military complex, and as a result, no other country bothers trying to be competitive with us. So we now have the largest military in the history of the world, frankly, but it's larger than all other militaries combined, including Russia and China. We are the only military who can stop the use and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. And if we are the only ones with that ability, then unfortunately we have the responsibility to enforce our values. And, you know, you can make an argument that we shouldn't have made that choice, but we make that choice several times every year to make that kind of an investment in our military capability. No other military has anywhere near the logistical capability nor the intelligence capability, let alone the weapons ability that we have invested in. And so the rest of the world looks to us to see what we're going to do. They recognize that there's no other country on the face of the earth that's competitive with us, no other country that can enforce our priorities and values, and so they wait to see what are going to be those priorities and values.
Congressman Jim Moran from Northern California joining Northern Virginia. I'm sorry about that.
Many times I wish I were in Northern California, but I represent Northern California.
Hey, I wish I were there right now too, Congressman. I'd be home if I were there. So, from Northern Virginia, joining us on our newsline. And the other concern, which I'm sure you've heard and we've heard many times, is, well, you know, we got to do something, but the consequences of acting, we don't know what Assad might do in response to that. And, you know, we could getting ourselves into wider war or an attack on Syria, attack on Turkey, an attack on Israel. Does that concern you?
Well, sure. All of these things are possibilities. But the alternative, I think, is clearer, that if we don't act, then it makes Israel more vulnerable. It makes Korea's neighbors more vulnerable. It empowers the people in Iran, although they have new leadership, and I think their leadership wants to start working with us and breaking down some of these barriers that we've set up. But the fact is, if we don't act, we start to define ourselves, and it's not the kind of definition that makes for a more peaceful world. This really goes far beyond Assad and Syria. This is about the kind of world we want to leave to our kids and grandkids. And if we don't stop the use of weapons of mass destruction now, then it becomes the new norm. And that's not a world that I want my kids to be living in.
Does this have echoes of Iraq to you, Congressman? You were there for that vote.
Yeah, it does. And I felt just as strongly that we should not have gone into Iraq. In fact, when 80% of the American people supported it, I just as strongly opposed it. When the Washington Post was writing daily editorials urging us to go into war in Iraq, I was confident in my judgment that we should not do that. The motivation was suspect, and the data was specious. We did not have the kind of information we have with regard to Syria. This was something that the Bush administration wanted to do in response to 9/11, even though Saddam had nothing to do with 9/11. But there were a number of people pushing it, primarily neocons, for reasons that I didn't think justified going to war. And I've never questioned that judgment, and I think more people would agree now. But this is a different situation. This information is accurate. We don't have a president that wants to go to war to prove himself or to appease other groups. He doesn't want weapons of mass destruction to be used with impunity. And John Kerry feels the same way. Kerry is not a warmonger. Kerry believes in diplomacy. And Kerry knows that this is not going to be resolved with an all-out war, because we're the only ones who could conduct that war, and we're not going to put boots on the ground. But he also knows that we've got to degrade Assad's military, so he'll come to the table and we can try to form a more inclusive government, including the moderates within the rebel forces.
Congressman, I hear you loud and clear. I hear you say, I believe, I want to confirm, if the vote were held today, you would vote yes, correct?
I would vote yes, absolutely.
And how do you think Congress will vote in the end?
Well, we would lose if the vote was held today. But there is a different version that my colleague Jerry Conley from Virginia and my colleague Chris Van Hollen from Maryland, both of whom are close friends, they've come up with a more limited resolution, limiting it to 60 days and possibly an extension to another 30 days, and guaranteeing there'll be no boots on the ground. I would support that as well, and that would get more votes. Whether it would get the majority, I still don't know that. I don't think members have made that determination individually and collectively yet.
All right. Tough decision for all members of Congress, and you put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this, Congressman. More work to go. We'll be following that, and we thank you so much for your time this morning. Thanks, Congressman.
It's good to be on with you. Thank you.
Jim Moran, great guy from Northern Virginia, does a great job making it very clear he supports it for all the right reasons. We'll be back. Your calls at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show. social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Reed Wilson covers the White House for Politico. He's in studio with us in the next half hour. Peter, what do we got?
For all of our Texas viewers and listeners, the State Fair of Texas is coming up.
Oh, good.
And what they do every year
head out there.
is they have a competition to see who can create the best new fair food. And in Texas, it's typically fried. We have a winner. The most creative new dish being served at the Texas State Fair is the fried Thanksgiving dinner. It's deep-fried stuffing, turkey, and creamed corn balls with a cranberry dipping sauce and gravy served on the side. It's just like a giant ball of fried Thanksgiving.
All together in
one big
turkey,
angry fried sphere that you dunk into gravy and cranberry sauce and eat as you walk along the fair.
Why would you want to eat that in the middle of September?
Hey, look, some people are Thanksgiving
No, why would you want to eat it?
Period.
Oh, I'd eat it around Thanksgiving. I was just like...
I prefer my food on a plate. Like, I like my turkey, then I'll have a bite of stuffing, then I'll have a bite of
And I
corn.
don't want any of that deep fried.
Deep fried turkey, though?
No.
Deep fried turkey is good.
No.
Deep fried turkey is good.
No.
I have to tell you.
No. It's like deep fried soft shell crabs. It's an abomination. An abomination.
Right.
All right. Hey, I got Reed Epstein coming up next. Got to tell you, up in New York City, whoa. This thing could be a runaway for Bill de Blasio. You know, he's been on our show many times. He's a public advocate for New York City. Running for mayor, the latest poll out yesterday shows him with 43% of likely voters in the primary. And a runaway compared to Bill Thompson at 20%, 18% for City Council Speaker Christine Quinn. If he gets 40% of the vote next Tuesday, September 10, he is the Democratic nominee for mayor, and he would be the next mayor of New York City. Bill de Blasio looked like running away with it, and he's a good man, the most progressive candidate in the race. I would vote for him if I lived in New York City.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You know when you wake up on the weekend, the kids are...
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we are at 33 minutes after the hour. This Wednesday, started to say Monday. It is Wednesday morning, September 4. Good to see you today. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union. They've all merged together, call themselves now the SMART Union, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay under President Joseph Nigro. You bet. And you can find out more about their good work at their website, smart-union.org. President Obama about to start, waiting any time for him to begin a news conference in Stockholm with the Prime Minister of Sweden, talking about all the pressing issues facing the Swedish people at this time. I remember this is a stop that was sort of invented when the president got pissed off at Vladimir Putin over Syria and other issues and decided he would not go to Moscow to meet with Vladimir Putin. Or was it Putin that decided he didn't want to meet with Obama? I forget which one. Reed Epstein covers all this stuff for Politico, joining us in our studio this morning. Hey, Reed, nice to see you.
Obama will be pointing out that the Swedish people are not Russian this morning.
No, exactly. And then this evening, he has dinner with the Nordic leaders. I love the fact that that's how it's described on the official.
I'm surprised that we've gotten this far into this without mentioning some sort of Swedish chef involved.
Oh, man. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even make the Swedish chef connection.
I figured, you're this far into the show, you had to have brought up the Swedish chef.
Hadn't even gone there yet. We'll have the Swedish chef for next segment.
I'm just working from the bottom of the barrel.
We're getting fat on low-hanging fruit. Don't worry.
Speaking of the Swedish chef, though, Peter.
Yeah. We do have the menu of what the president will be eating, by the way. We have the menu of what the president will be eating.
You did a food bit and didn't even come up with a Swedish
chef. That's right. I know. I couldn't even make the connection.
We need you around more often.
So the menu is said, quote, based on traditional Swedish flavors.
If they're not, if they're not eating reindeer, I'm disappointed.
Well, it comes pretty damn close, actually. You came pretty close. So they're starting out with lightly smoked char with roe and lemon creme fraiche, and grilled brioche. The main course is a saddle of venison with black chanterelles, game jus, frosted lingonberries, and chestnuts. And on the side will be Brussels sprouts, chanterelles, and almond potato wedges. And then for dessert, it's a frozen passion fruit mousse with fresh raspberries, blueberries, and
mousse should be the mousse.
Not the antlered
mousse
animal.
should be the main course. Oh
no! No! Our friend Obama Foodorama on Twitter got that. So that's the menu.
No broccoli.
No broccoli, as much as he loves it.
Reed, I saw you last on TV at the White House Sunday, wasn't it? Monday. I'm sorry, Labor Day. No, it was not a work day for me. When John McCain and Lindsey Graham came out after meeting with the president to do what we call the stakeout at the White House. The president beginning his full court press with them, and he won those two over.
Right? Well, and pretty much just about everyone who's gone in to see the president at the White House has come out either still on the fence or with him on this. We saw it on Monday with John McCain and Lindsey Graham started sort of this procession. And then yesterday, the House and Senate leaders and committee chairmen and ranking members came in, and John Boehner was the first one out and gave a sort of a very brief statement where he said, I support the president and my colleagues should support the president. And he was followed by Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of the House committee chairmen who came out. Everyone who spoke, at least, was for it. We didn't, of course, hear from Mitch McConnell or John Cornyn, who are said to be on the fence or against. It'll be a very difficult vote for McConnell given the political dynamics in Kentucky. He's got a primary there. He's got Rand Paul as essentially the leading voice against some sort of intervention. But it was remarkable yesterday to see Boehner and then Eric Cantor shortly thereafter.
Yeah, which is significant.
Announce their support for this.
Now, the question is, is the Republican Party sort of engaged in a civil war over this issue?
Well, not yet. I think the vast majority of Republicans and perhaps even the majority of Democrats still at this point are opposed to voting to authorize intervention. Democrats certainly were in a position of sort of hoping that Obama would have just done this without forcing them to vote on it. But you had the preponderance of members of Congress, almost 200 of them had signed letters demanding that Congress get a chance to weigh in. And my sense is that they were doing that.
Careful what you ask for, you might get
anticipating that Obama would never do it in a million years.
Yeah.
And now he has, and now they're sort of left holding the bag, having forced to weigh in. We've seen a lot of very careful statements come out of congressional offices the last couple of days. And we've seen people like Carol Shea Porter from New Hampshire who's come out against it. We've seen a number of other Democrats who have said no. People like Alan Grayson, who sort of the expectation would be that he would say no, given sort of his reputation and his history. And it's going to be a tough vote for the president. Boehner, shortly after, one thing that was remarkable yesterday, shortly after Boehner came out and said he supported this, about a half hour later we got a statement from his press shop saying he supports it, but he's not going to whip any votes. Well, he's not going to lift a finger to help the president, and it's going to be on the White House to secure 218 votes to pass this in the House.
I was going to ask you that next. The question is, in both the House and the Senate, whether they will whip the votes, meaning whether they will actually put pressure on members to vote for the military strike, or leave it, as they say, up to the matter of conscience, which means you can do whatever the hell you want and there'll be no consequences to pay. Right?
I think the leadership is going to make, and Boehner has said it's a matter of conscience for his members. It's interesting. We sort of had this big discussion at the beginning of the year about whether Boehner would bring votes to the floor if it didn't have a majority of the Republicans supporting it. He seems to have committed to doing that this time. It's doubtful that he'll get the majority of Republicans voting for this. When a vote comes up, it's supposed to be next week. We'll see. And the White House has spent 5 years not building relationships with a lot of these House Republicans, particularly after they took the majority. And now they're coming to them, asking them to vote for this. And it's going to be tough. He may have better luck with Democrats. There were conference calls yesterday afternoon with the progressive caucuses. And it's not clear how much sway the White House is going to have on a vote like this with them either. We haven't seen a lot of your sort of typical progressive Democrats come out for this.
We just heard one, Jim Moran from Virginia, told us just at the top of this hour that he definitely is for it and gave his reasons. I mean, he does believe weapons were used by the Syrian regime and it's important to have a military response. But most progressives that we've talked to, like David Cicilline a little bit earlier this morning, too, said he's not yet convinced. Didn't say it's impossible that he would vote for it, but not yet convinced, which is, I think, where either they're against it or they're, as you say, on the fence.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of people come out and say that they're convinced of the evidence that the White House has presented, but they're still not convinced that it's the right thing to have U.S.-led airstrikes go in.
But which, by the way, I think is progress on the part of for the administration. Meaning, because 2 days ago, the theme was, well, this is another Iraq. Why? How can we believe the evidence? That shifted. At least my perception is that has shifted now to everybody. I've asked everybody we've talked to that first question, and everybody has said we're convinced. We believe the intelligence.
It sounds like
we believe the intelligence. Now the question is, will a strike accomplish?
Right. It sounds like the classified briefings have accomplished what they wanted to.
So this is not another Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld inventing weapons of mass destruction.
Right. The question is, what are they going to do? And the White House hasn't quite articulated sort of the roadmap of what happens and what happens after, what the airstrikes do, what they're going to accomplish. Because the president has said that this is not about this. Any immediate airstrikes are not about removing Assad, despite the longstanding policy of regime change there. That's not what this is supposed to be about. And so you have a lot of people asking, well, what's the point?
But in their defense, right, I guess I would have to say, they can't lay out exactly what they would do, right? I mean, you want to telegraph every last detail to the Syrian regime.
They seem to have telegraphed quite a bit of this already.
Yeah, up to a point. But I mean, beyond that, as to what day, how many, what targets.
Sure.
That may be. They may be saying that in the classified briefings, but we are never going to know that ahead of time.
What we heard from McCain and Graham on Monday, and again from members who came out of this meeting at the White House with the president yesterday, was that there weren't a whole lot of specifics about sort of what exactly they were trying to accomplish beyond damaging Assad, and how whatever they did would lead to Assad being gone without the U.S. being dragged into something much more complicated. And so that's what they haven't been able to articulate yet to members of Congress, let alone publicly, sort of what they would get out of bombing Assad, and how that leads to Assad being gone, what sort of more assistance they would add to the people who are fighting Assad, what sort of vetting has been done of them, et cetera, et cetera.
There are more briefings, more hearings today. Congress is getting a hell of a lot done this week for a Congress that's not even in session. But this is the most important issue that they probably had to deal with in the last 5 years. And the president has put the challenge in front of them. Reed Epstein covers doings at the what's going on at the White House and in the Congress, both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue today. You want to weigh in with do you think this is the right thing to do, and what about the risks of acting or not acting? You know, the toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS.
Go mobile with Bill Press. Download podcasts at BillPressShow.com and listen anytime, anywhere. This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. At 12 minutes now before the top of the hour, Reed Epstein from Politico here in studio with us with the team. President Obama in the middle of his news conference now with the Prime Minister of Sweden. You know, it would be. Then they have the dinner tonight with the Nordic. He has a dinner tonight with Nordic leaders in Stockholm. It would be nice just if we could just like peek into the kitchen right now while the Swedish.
Sure, they're working on.
They're working on dinner tonight. Do you think?
Well, there they go.
There's the Swedish chef. He's getting ready for it.
Hard at work.
Hard at work.
English beer, the Swedish meatball.
Preparing the venison for the main course.
All right. Okay. Good enough. When the president comes back after St. Petersburg and the G20 summit, Reed, he comes back late Friday night. Should we expect an address to the nation from the Oval Office Saturday or Sunday? What do you hear?
I think if you see an address, it won't be from the Oval Office. The president
doesn't like that.
Doesn't like those. He hasn't done one since the oil spill early in his first term. If he does something, it'll be like what we saw this past weekend from the Rose Garden, or perhaps the East Room if the weather's bad. But he doesn't like to sit. He doesn't like the sort of the picture of him sitting at the desk. He likes to be sort of standing somewhere, making his point.
Well, let's just say then.
But he also. I would also.
Do you think he needs to, or do you think he'll have to make an address to the nation just to rally the American people?
It sort of depends, and we'll see where this is at the end of the week. What sort of support he has from Congress, whether they're able to sort of rally public support. Yesterday at the White House, a bunch of sort of his campaign team and first-term team was there. Axelrod Plouffe, Tommy Vietor, and Nita Dunn were in the White House strategizing about how to go forward with this, how to make a public case. But he's also been, he made his first address about this was Saturday at 1:30. Is not exactly prime time viewing. He's not getting back from Russia until late Friday night.
And if anybody's been carrying the ball, it's been John Kerry.
It's been John Kerry who, John Kerry is not the leader of the free world at this point. And I think, and as we've heard from a number of the members of Congress, McCain and Graham, particularly, that it's the president who needs to be out selling this.
Which is why I come back to, don't you think that they must have some presidential address, that they're preparing right now?
He's certain to be asked about it during this press conference with the Swedish prime minister. You'd think that they have something in their playbook before a congressional vote next week, but a lot of it is going to depend on what the whip count looks like and how many votes they think they have going into next week, whether we see the president come out and make a public case for this again.
It was clearly a roll of the dice for the president to throw this to Congress and to call on them to debate the issue and to vote on the issue. Politically, did he make the right decision?
It depends on if they win, he's stronger.
But does it? I mean, if win or lose?
There's a lot of different sort of elements to this. I think that he has an opportunity to. My first thought on this was that it's again his trying to break the fever that he talked about during the campaign, even if that was disingenuous, as we found out later, that he didn't expect Republicans to cave on anything. But here is a chance for him to either get them on his side on something, or if this either fails or passes with almost all Democratic support, it's a chance for him to say once again politically that the House Republicans are holding up progress in the country, and that they're obstructing or acting childish or whatever metaphor that he's using at the time. Whether that sinks in or is something that people are going to buy after he's used it so many times, we'll have to see. It feels like it's a weightier, more serious issue than some of the political battles that he's fought before, like the Jobs Act and whatnot. And then once again, if we see them obstructing or trying to block this, theoretically it could play into the president's hands, but we'll see. He's got, just in the next month, a lot of big issues coming up. He's got the debt ceiling. He's going to need to pass a continuing resolution to keep the government running. Those are not jokes of issues, and he's going to need some cooperation from Republicans to push those through. And I don't know quite how this helps him. Spending the first 2 weeks of the month engaged in a pitch battle over Syria does much other than take time away from gathering coalitions that he's going to need on that.
And in many ways, this president called for this vote on Saturday. This is the week of lobbying, and the debate comes next week. So there's a lot to happen before that big vote. Reed Epstein, you and I will be covering it every step of the way. We'll talk again about it soon. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Good to see you. See you over at the White House.
Yeah, see you at the White House. I'll be back with today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, here's a little breaking news. I'm thinking of moving to Wyoming. Yeah, look, I like it here in Washington. I love it in California, but I'm thinking of moving to Wyoming. Not only that, I'm thinking of re-registering as a Republican just so I can vote against Liz Cheney in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate. First of all, Cheney's no more a resident of Wyoming than I am. She grew up in Virginia. She lived her entire life in Virginia. She hasn't even lived long enough in Wyoming to get a fishing license. In fact, she got fined $220 for lying about how long she'd lived in Wyoming on her fishing license application. Now, in her lust for Senate, she has thrown her younger sister Mary under the bus, announcing her opposition to same-sex marriage, even though Mary's been happily married to her partner Heather for a couple of years. That marriage is one which parents Dick and Lynn Cheney proudly support, but not Big Sister. For her, personal political gain is more important than family. What a loser. The people of Wyoming deserve a lot better. Have a great Wednesday, folks. See you back here again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.